Hello YouTube, Tim here with the weapon of the week. This is it. I'd like to show it to you right now and how to build it. We've got a fairly inauthentic, totally not based off any particular weapon, but I think it has the right spirit. Call it a dueling pistol if you want, or something like that. Suitable for pirate costumes, Revolutionary War costumes, things like that, maybe even a little bit later, but it's definitely a muzzle-loading pistol, and it looks pretty fantastic if you ask me. There's room for improvement, and version 2.0 and later versions will be even better. But here it is. A front sight, barrel bands, a rear, it's really just a larger barrel band, followed by the hammer, or the flint, and the steel, I guess, those two parts. The trigger is actually inserted and can toggle, and I toyed with the idea of putting in a spring. And the trigger guard. That's really all there is to it. You see the shape of it, very much like the Assassin's Creed short blade. That's almost it. I mean, how simple is that? It looks cool, it feels cool, it looks like a lot of fun. So, you know, if you're going to take it outside, either be in a place where people aren't going to freak out when they see you carrying it, because at a distance it looks like a freaking gun. Be careful. If you're going to take it outside in places where they will freak out, paint it orange. Do something less safe and like that, or just be careful. Use caution, because this actually could get somebody shot, I can imagine, by the police. So, that said, it's a really, really cool gun, and it's the kind of thing that looks almost good enough just to hang up on the wall. I would love to put, crossed pistols up on the wall on a shield. It looks fantastic. So, let's get to building it.
Alright, here we are. The way we're going to make the pistol is taking a 2-foot scrap section of 3/4 inch Schedule 40 PVC. I'm going to mark a straight line down it using this 2x4 as a guide. Just keeping the pen at one angle should allow us to just go the entire length. Very good, except for where it hit a knot, but we can work around that. What I'd like to do now is measure the length of our barrel, which will be here. Actually, just eyeball it. This is not that critical. So this is a 24-inch long piece. This is about an 18-inch long piece, but it really should be a little bit more rigorous than just eyeballing it for you guys. I'm comfortable with that, but I want to say it's 18 inches, and it's 17. Okay, so let's take our 17-inch long piece, and you want it to protrude by about 3/4 of an inch. So about that much. So let's just take it, set it up there where we have our line, and make a mark. That will be the absolute rear terminus of our pistol. The actual forward section. This is the stock, really. The stock portion, the barrel. This will be the handle grip. We'll do some of the finer detail work later. Now what you can do if you want is make a corresponding mark on the opposite side. You don't need to do that right now, but you can if you feel like it. You go and just put that mark at the bottom, left, right, whatever the opposite is, however you'd like to do it. And then just mark it the same way as the first. I guess that we can go ahead and do that right now then. Again, using the block as a guide. Okay, we're going well far enough back that it won't matter. There we go. See? this section from here to here to here and out, we're going to remove. So let's get to it. By the way, I had my heat setting turned about halfway down. It was a great way to heat SDR21 without burning it and heating it too quickly. Also produces less of a smell. I don't smell anything when I'm doing this, but my wife does. That's why she's mostly requested that I do this in the garage. But she's out right now, so we can, well, the cat's away, the mice will play with PVC. Okay, that may or may not be soft enough. We're going to find out. So let's just grab the X-Acto knife, which is right over here, and let's try and cut. Now this is very sharp. I finally got the blade replaced. Yeah, that will definitely cut. It's a little firm, but yes. Let's try and go another minute. Just a bare minute. But if you're willing to take your time, you can keep it like this. One benefit is it is a little bit more stiff, so it doesn't deform as much under pressure. If you wanted, you could just turn it sideways, or rather, doesn't matter, flatten it, cut half of it away on a bandsaw with a hacksaw or coping saw, and then heat it to roundness again. Not the most elegant way of doing it. We'll have to correct for some deformation, but it'll work. Alright, let's try it again now. Alright, got interrupted by a call there. Let me just continue heating it, and let's try and make a nice slice of this. I won't even focus on the whole thing, just on this side. Okay, here we go. This is working really well, I think. Yeah, wow, really well. You can always sand it back down to look good when you're done. So don't worry about getting it perfect. You just want to get it good enough. Okay, it's starting to get a little stiff here near the end, so a little heat along the way. And there's another cool little tool that I never knew existed that I really think could be handy for doing stuff like this. I'm not going to tell you what it is until I go and buy one and test it out, because I have another project I need it for no matter what. But man, would it be cool if it could work for PVC. I just love finding new stuff to show you guys. And thanks to your viewership, that's partly the way that I can afford to do some of this stuff. You guys watch my videos and I can go and get tools that I really have no other need for or use for or justification for. So thanks for that, and I hope that I can produce some good content to make it worth your while. Awesome, look at that. Really cuts cuts like butter. Friendly reminder, don't cut towards yourself. I think we've covered that before, but yeah, always stands repeating. Side opposite, we're going to do the exact same thing. Again, if you have a bandsaw, you could just do this in one fell swoop. Zzz, zzz, no problem. I don't at this moment. Mine's broken, and I don't feel like doing this with any of my other saws. And basically, look how easy that was. 3 minutes of heating, 1 minute of slicing. Once I got the hang of it, a rhythm down, and a good way to hold the blade, that went really fast and easy. Let's try this now. Ready, ready, ready. If you hold it at the right angle, it cuts, but it doesn't slice through so badly. If you hold it at the wrong angle, it tends to want to slip. Look at that, that's beautiful. Because it's not cutting 100% of the way through. Oh yeah, nice. Which leaves one final cut. Let's see if it's still soft enough here at the back to do that. I'm going to say no. There we are. Now before this completely cools, let's just go ahead and get this inside to help straighten it out. We just want to encourage this piece to retain its shape. We don't want it to curve and do funky stuff. We're going to want to pull that out eventually, just so we can grind down the sides. You could leave them rough if you want, that might look more rustic. I'm not sure what would be better in this circumstance. But this is what I'm going to do, and then you can adapt my technique to your needs. As you can tell, this is going to look pretty darn cool. Let's go ahead and cut a few slices of this off while we're at it, because we need to make some bands to retain it. I understand that we could actually glue it, but just to look authentic, we want retaining bands, at least 2 or 3 of those, as well as some extra pieces for triggers, the lock, the sight, and so on. Now for this, I'd actually prefer to use my tin snips or some scissors. That'll work. Take that, band 1, band 2, band 3. Let's make a nice thick one just in case. Maybe another one. Okay. And Now some miscellaneous pieces, like I said. Trigger guard. Alright. Now for the trigger guard, it's going to be longer. So we're going to cut it lengthwise here. Cut it longer than you think you're going to need, because you can always shorten it, but it's hard to add length. Plus, if you insert a little bit of it into the other pipes, it'll give you a little bit more meat to glue onto. I'm not sure entirely which of these will be the trigger guard, but we have 3 strips to choose from then. Probably the middle one, but... See, look at that. We'll also need a trigger. I wouldn't worry about shaping it right now, though. These are just going to go into our pile of small miscellaneous pieces. So the trigger, likewise, should be approximately that shape and size. So, let's start off from the top like this, and cut downward at a curled angle there, like so. Let's go all the way to the bottom, and again, we can always shorten and change this when we're finished. Just going to round that little snip at the end. Now, starting back up right there at the bottom. All the way back up to the top, where we'll complete almost a T. There. From there, just take that segment off right there. See how it's almost in the shape of a front sight? We're going to flatten that out and make that our front sight. Oh, what fun we're having. Okay, so we've got several miscellaneous pieces. Trigger guard. We have what will be a trigger. You could make 2 of these thick if you wanted to, but that's fine. I think this is good enough for now. We have the basic barrel in stock. We're ready to go. Thanks for watching this segment. Due to vacuum, I'm going to be calling it quits now for a little while, and then we'll catch back up later. Thanks. Welcome back. I've moved all of the useful small pieces off to the side where they'll be safe for the moment. And now we're going to just give the final shaping to the handle. You can do a lot with this and shape it however you like. I'm just going to shape it to a way that's vaguely comfortable and somewhat traditional. So let's go ahead and do that. Notice I'm leaving the barrel piece in, just to prevent it from warping or heating too much there. It'll both act as a heat sink and just a stiffener, something that will make it more rigid. Up till now, this build has been very similar, at least in, not up till now, but at this point, this is where it becomes very, very similar to the Assassin's Creed short blades. You really could take one of them, slice it up, and use that for the base for a pistol. And they indeed were what gave me the inspiration to do this. So let's take some glove and shape the handle now. It's to be a nice, graceful curve more than anything. So rather than just forcing it into a sharp angle like this, which is both non-traditional and unattractive, pinch it slightly here, because you see when you start to angle it, it wants to narrow there, form a crease. So pinch it there to help it stay shaped properly. And as well, you can start to artificially just bend it a little bit more there. Looking good. So far looking really, really good. When you get it roughly how you like, I'm also going to go ahead and seal the end off right now. Flatten it completely and seal it. But then you want to make sure it feels good in the hand. If it doesn't, you can always adjust it and reshape it, retaper it, however you like. You can make these as ornate as you want. You can make spectacular dueling pistols, or you can just leave it as a very rough frontier-style weapon, whatever you like. That's what I love about these sort of PVC projects. You can do pretty much anything you set your mind to. One project I've had in the wings for a long while, and I know I've been asked about it, especially I think Eli, the fellow I did a boat trade with a few months back, wanted to know. I have some lamellae. I'm going to make some laminar armor, a breastplate with it. I'm not exactly sure how. The project is a little intimidating, and I'm only just getting comfortable with the idea of how to process it. But I will be doing that in the near future, so you can stay tuned for stuff like that. I guess I'll put that under my weapon of the week, even though it's not, strictly speaking, a weapon. Great. Perfect. This feels great. This feels just awesome in the hand. It's a little off-center, but we can fix that now while it's still a little warm, and take a look. Is that starting to look like a pistol, or what? It just feels like a natural extension of your hand pointing it. Feels very good, which is just what a good pistol should be. Super duper. I'm just going to go ahead and set these here so you can get an idea for how it's going to look when I glue them on. I like a barrel band up in the front, barrel band back here. Ooh, they want to pop right off. Something like that. Then we've got our front sight, which I'll trim down maybe to a different shape, but we'll put it up there. We'll probably use this band up here towards the very front to combine with it. You can see how all the pieces are starting to come together. This is just going to look awesome, especially once the stock has a wood grain, and oh man, the barrel's going to be finished with a dark metallic. Cool beans, I'm telling you guys. For now, let's call that quits, because that's a good almost half an hour that we've put in right now. So go ahead and catch up if you're just following along, and then we'll do the rest tomorrow. We'll do the rest another day. Don't want to get overdone and strung out and too tired doing something like this. Plus, this would give us an opportunity to, if you wanted to go ahead and start finishing the stock, you could sand it down and get it prepped and ready. So that's going to be the next step. I also will probably just heat it locally to inlet it for the trigger, which I'll go ahead and shape. All of that is really just a process of flattening, sanding, grinding it down with a file to make it the right shape. But you can see how it's going to be approximately. Just like so for a trigger. The only part that we haven't really thought about yet is the lock. And that's something that'll have to come later. I may or may not do one at all. But if I do one, it's going to be very much like this. 1 or 2 layers like this on the side, glued right here to look like it's a lock. We could even take a little bit of paracord and leave it frayed at one end to make it look like a match. This is going to be so cool. Thanks for watching, YouTube. Tune in again for updates. Welcome back, YouTube. This is continuing the build of the pistol the muzzle loading pistol. All I've done is I made several cuts here along the edge so I could peel this back enough to jam in the trigger piece, which all I did is flattened it, rounded the edges, and I cut a small slot here by heating this one section and then taking my X-Acto knife and going chick, 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 popping it out. That's it. Once that's in there, I just pushed this back down, made sure it was glued in place all nicely, and that's done. I sanded everything, and I also took this piece, one of these pieces, shaped it, and did the exact same thing. I just sanded off the edges, and I shaped it into the final shape that I wanted. I marked down here where I want it, so now I could go and I can glue it on. I could, if I really wanted to do a spectacular job, cut in and inlet it just a little bit, and that would give it a little bit of extra strength, make it a little bit more solid, but I think just hot gluing it is going to be fine. So I have a hot glue gun here, but what I should do before is start the finishing process. I want a base coat of black, and then I'm going to hit it with multiple layers of both black and brown. And I won't worry about getting any on the trigger because that's eventually going to be painted. We're going to hand paint that a different color. Oh, also pay note, I shaped the back. I just sawed it off at an angle. You could use the same technique to make any kind of classic firearm or modern firearm, but the classic ones are easier because they're wood. The shapes tend to be more organic and more smooth. And I think they look cool. I mean, heck, you can make a foam board copy of a .30 caliber machine gun or something cool like that, but here we are about PVC crafting. We're using what we have on hand to make some really cool stuff. Nice dark coats. And don't worry too much about inside. I want the edges covered, but beyond that it doesn't matter, because you will have the barrel inside, and the barrel will be painted. Okay, I'm getting right to the point where I can't hold it anymore. So now I'm going to have to just set it down, let it dry, and then we'll continue in a few minutes once it dries. But that's all I'm going to do is continue with that, and then once it's dry, put on a nice base, another coat of brown on top of it. You could also hit it with a little layer of red spray paint after the black. That gives it a nice tinge, but that's all up to you. It just affects the final tone. I think that makes it look very much like traditional wood colors for stocks for firearms that I've seen, like the Soviets, Mosin Nagants. Anyhow, take a look at this and see what you think. You can again catch up, and in a few minutes we're gonna finish painting this, decorating this, and then start to really do some finished assembly. Okay, welcome back. I just wanted to show where things are at. Right now we've got the basically assembled stock. I'm going to continue staining it with another layer or two of brown, and then that's basically it. I need to take the barrel, spray paint that dark metallic, take the barrel bands, spray paint them dark metallic. I will round off the edges just slightly with a file, and spray the trigger guard dark metallic. I was thinking of putting in a spring of some kind so we could actually get a functioning trigger. That would be pretty darn cool. It's totally possible, but it's, for now, not the right thing, and in the future we can always go ahead and do it if we want. But that's where things are. Check back in a little bit and we'll have some more work done.
Great, and after all of that's done, I think you can see where this was going. All I did was I cut out these pieces out of some flat pieces, just like I cut this out. I took the barrel bands, I glued them on. I took the front sight, I glued it on. Better in the future. Next time what I would do is I would probably make a slot and I'd insert it and glue it into the slot to make it more sturdy, And if possible, I would do the same sort of thing over here, maybe inserting it between the wood stock and the actual metal part there. That would make it a little bit more sturdy, because these things, if I hit it hard enough, poof, they'll just go flying off. That's just how they're attached. And the same thing goes for the trigger guard. I shaped it, I took one of those strips that I had, I heated it, and I shaped it to a way that I liked. I held it and said, oh yeah, that feels okay, and that's where I put it on. Likewise, I would in the future cut slots and insert it and glue it that way. But this is all a learning experience. That's really what I have, and none of that is stuff that you haven't already seen before. The wood grain finish, I don't need to show you another video how to do a wood grain finish. The spray paint, all that was is a Rust-Oleum spray paint. I don't actually like it, but it's darker. So it's more like a blued gun barrel or a dark finish on a gun barrel. There's nothing else here really that I can tell you, except that I have a paint pen that anything that was like the hot glue that was going to come up clear or off color, I just went over with that. In some cases it just looks like a little bit of scuffing on the barrel, which is pretty perfect. I had been doing a design down the barrel in gold. I thought it would look pretty cool, like an inlaid design, but unfortunately it wasn't vibrant and standing out as much as it needed to, so I decided to go ahead and scrap that. That's all there is to it. And now, by this point, if you've been following along, in under 2 hours you should have a fully operational firearm suitable for cosplay, for a Halloween accessory, whatever you like. Thanks very much for watching, YouTube. Tune in again.